Some books should never feel this comfortable sitting beside each other. Because when certain books are placed in one library, they begin exposing too much. Not loudly, not immediately, but slowly, page after page. They remove the polite explanations people usually use to describe power, fear, discipline, conflict, and control. And what remains is often sharper than expected. Because the oldest books rarely waste words. They were written when survival itself forced clarity. And that is why some ancient books still feel unusually alive today. Not because they are old, but because human behavior has changed less than most people assume. These are 5 books that should not exist in one library, because together they create a shelf that quietly changes how reality is interpreted. The first is The Art of War. Many people think they know this book because they know its most quoted lines. But quoting this book and understanding it are very different things. Because Sun Tzu was not simply teaching battle, he was teaching invisible advantage. Again and again, he returns to one principle. The highest victory is achieved before visible conflict begins. That means true superiority often appears before movement, before argument, before confrontation, before anyone else realizes the direction has already shifted. This is why the book still feels dangerous, because once understood properly, it changes how a person sees daily life. Negotiation becomes strategy. Silence becomes strategy. Timing becomes strategy. Even restraint becomes strategy. And after that, impulsive behavior starts looking expensive. The second book is Meditations. This book feels almost opposite at first. No battlefield, no external tactics, no visible enemy, only a ruler speaking privately to himself. But that is precisely why it becomes powerful. Marcus Aurelius was not writing for an audience. He was writing against his own weakness, against irritation, against ego, against fear, against the temptation to let power distort judgment. And what makes this book extraordinary is that many lines feel written for modern instability. He repeatedly reminds himself, if something is outside your command, it should not own your peace. That sounds simple until pressure arrives. Then it becomes one of the hardest disciplines in life. This book changes readers quietly because it removes excuses. And once excuses disappear, internal responsibility becomes difficult to avoid. The third book is 15 Threads of Framing Power. And this is where ancient wisdom enters modern speech. Because many old books teach power through war, kingship, and statecraft. But today, power often appears first through language, a sentence, a question, a pause, a framing choice. This book explains why 2 people can speak about the same issue while only one quietly controls direction. Why wording often matters more than volume. Why subtle framing changes social position before argument even begins. And once readers understand this, conversations no longer sound ordinary. Interviews sound different. Meetings sound different. Leadership sounds different. Because words begin revealing structure, and structure often reveals who already holds invisible advantage. The fourth book is the Book of Lord Shang. This is one of the coldest books ancient China ever produced, and perhaps one of the least emotionally comfortable. Because unlike books that hope human goodness will naturally sustain order, this text assumes systems must be designed with discipline stronger than personal kindness. It argues that states collapse when rules become sentimental, that power weakens when authority hesitates, that law must be clear enough that personal emotion cannot constantly rewrite it. Modern readers often feel uncomfortable here, because this book strips softness away from governance, and yet its sharpness explains why it survived intellectually for centuries. It does not ask what people wish society to be. It asks what systems survive pressure. That makes it difficult to forget. The fifth book is The Prince. Few books carry a reputation like this one. Its name alone became a global adjective. But many readers misunderstand why it still matters. Machiavelli was writing after political collapse, betrayal, instability, and exile. This was not theory written from comfort. It was written by someone who had watched power disappear in real time. And because of that, the book refuses romantic language. It asks difficult questions. What preserves authority when ideal behavior fails? What must a leader understand when loyalty changes faster than expected? Why do appearances often matter before truth has time to arrive? That realism unsettles people because it refuses comforting illusions. And placed beside the previous books, its effect becomes stronger. Because now strategy, self-command, framing, law, and political realism begin speaking to each other. That is why these books should not exist in one library. Not because they are dangerous alone, but because together they begin removing ordinary explanations. One teaches invisible victory. One teaches internal rule. One teaches verbal positioning. One teaches institutional hardness. One teaches political survival. And once those lenses sit together, daily life starts revealing patterns that previously looked random. The strongest books often do not change people immediately. They stay quiet first. Then one day, in a meeting, a conflict, a decision, a disappointment, a negotiation, or a moment of silence, one sentence from them returns, and suddenly the world looks slightly less accidental. That is when a library stops being decoration and becomes structure.